I pretty much never cry. The last time that I cried genuinely was probably about 5 years ago when I went off to college and I realized that my girlfriend and I would not be going to the same school and that we would suddenly have to do long distance. But I recently broke that streak, and a few days ago, or maybe a week ago, I cried like a baby, dude. Like the classic, hard to breathe, like truly weeping tears. And like I said, that's something that basically never happens to me. And the reason that I was so emotional, why I was crying recently at all, was essentially because I didn't really know who I was. I have taken upon myself to have this identity that I am a provider and that I will make lots of money for my family and friends, and that is what fulfills me. But I was having a conversation with my girlfriend and realizing, like, is that really me? Is that all I am? And I didn't know really where I was going or what I was doing. And it ended up being a really productive conversation. I think it was really important for me to get that emotion out and not just bottle it up. Because the point that I'm making with this video is that I think, particularly as men, we don't really know how to be emotional a lot of the time. And in general, it's become more acceptable over the years for men to talk about their emotions, but I think there's still very much underlying indirect messaging that we all hear that says that men should just be fine, that they don't have emotions, that they should have this James Bond persona, that nothing bothers them, and that they don't have feelings. And I get this impression because I'll sometimes talk with my girlfriend and she will say things like, I feel like you're not always in touch with your emotions, or the empathy isn't quite there, or just the ability to get deep on an emotional level isn't always present with you. And she's right. It's not a strong suit of mine. I don't really know how to talk about my emotions. And I think that having that conversation where I was bawling like a baby was really productive because I finally got that out of my system and I didn't just say, I'm fine. And in that moment when I was really crying, I was just like, dude, what the hell is this? I didn't even know that I could be this emotional, right? Because I, like I'm sure many of you, have this image of yourself that you never cry, that you never get upset about things, that nothing really bothers you, and that's just kind of what you do as a man. But in that moment, I was shocked that I could even be that emotional about something, and it felt good, honestly, to be able to know that I'm not some unfeeling psychopathic brute that feels nothing, that I am actually still human. I'm not saying to always be emotional and to always start breaking down at the drop of a hat, but to not just brush everything off as, oh, I'm just doing fine. Because sometimes I think to myself, is there something wrong with me because I'm not that emotional? Because I've had things over the years where I probably should have cried, or I should have had somewhat of an emotional response, right? Between the last time that I cried, which is about 5 years ago, and recently, I've had a grandparent die, I've had a pet die, I've lost a friend, I've lost family members. Like, there are things that should have elicited a response, but in those moments, I basically felt nothing. And it sometimes worries me that I haven't had enough, I don't know if practice is the word, but enough analysis of my emotions to think, why didn't I feel sad about that? Or why didn't that bother me? Because most people would get emotional about that, and rightfully so, right? And I think we would all benefit from spending a little bit more time actually thinking if you are fine or not. Like I said, you shouldn't get emotional about everything, but if something comes across your desk, some sort of situation in your life, and you just brush it off as, oh, that's nothing to be concerned about, maybe you should give it a deeper thought as to whether that is actually true, or if you're just trying to deflect the emotion away from you. Because in that moment when I was having that conversation with my girlfriend and I started crying uncontrollably, there was a moment where I thought, oh, I probably shouldn't just say anything. I should just not let this become a bigger issue. I'll just ignore it. And that obviously would have been the wrong choice. And I'm really glad that I did end up having that conversation with my girlfriend. Because otherwise you go your entire life just kicking the can down the road and never having those deep conversations that you actually need to have. And I know I placed a particular emphasis on men in this video, and obviously women have emotions too. I'm just talking mainly to dudes in this video because traditionally men don't have as many people telling them that it's okay to talk about emotions. There's no weakness or shame in being vulnerable with your partner or your friends or your parents or whoever it is, right? Don't just say you're fine all the time, because you're not. It's not feminine to talk about your emotions. It's a human thing to talk about your emotions. But that's about it. Just had a quick little thought, so I'll talk to you later.